is up, everybody? James Jackson here, back again with another video. We got some breaking news that is coming out from Canon rumors regarding this rumored cinema cameras. It turns out it actually is going to be a series of cinema line cameras that is actually coming out. We're just reading about it right now. So let's go into this specifications and read this over real quick. Because first of all, what it appears to be coming with it, and also the price that is coming out with is it's insane. But there's also some things that I may have some personal issues with. But let's go right into it. So this is what Canon rumors says that there's a new series of cinema line cameras coming out. Including some new XF cameras that basically were like those 1-inch sensors that would be part of the C-line cameras as well. Well, there's two new like RF cinema mounts cameras, and then there's the 1-inch cameras as well. So let's start off with the first one, which is right now he's calling it the Canon Cinema R200. This name, it has, by the way, none of these names have been confirmed. This is just, I guess, a placeholder for right now. But this is going to be the one that has the same sensor as the Super 35, same Super 35 sensor from the C200. It's going to have the RF mount. There is going to be no IBIS in this camera. It will have up to 10 stops of internal NDs. Canon Log 2 and 3 will be in here, but this is the interesting part. It will have 8-bit 420 onto SD cards, 4K up to 60 frames per second, and then 1080 up to 120. The other big critical thing is it says no RAW is going to be in this camera. So no RAW will be allowed in this particular camera. So that's a very interesting kind of thing. I don't know why Canon is really doing this Sony thing where I don't know why they're putting C-Log 2 in this camera. It makes, maybe they mistake I don't know if Canon rumors is mistaking Canon Log for Canon Log 2, but there is no reason to have this if it's not even, like, 10-bit is already, like, not even making the minimum for a lot of the sensors Canon makes. It doesn't even make the minimum of getting C-Log 2. So for me, I don't know why they put C-Log 2, C-Log 3, and it's C-Log 3. Neither one of these are 8-bit log profiles. They're 10-bit at the very least. With the C-Log 2, really you need 12-bit. So that's a weird thing. This is the one that's going to have the dual LPE6 mount batteries. But here's the interesting thing. It's going to cost $3,500. Now, yesterday I was talking about $45. So apparently all the leak specs from the previous video were a mixture of the two cameras. But this one is going to be $3,500. So if you're looking for an access to a cinema line camera, this clearly is going to be the entryway into like the cinema line of camera. So if you're looking to try to get into the cinema line of Canon, this is a probably good start. This is essentially the C100 Mark III on the RF mount again, but I don't know why they put C-Log 2 and 3 and not just Canon Log if you're only going to do 8-bit internal and there's no RAW recording. So, but I gotta say, for $3,500 to get into the cinema line of camera, that's pretty good. Now, here's the interesting camera that when you read these specs, you're gonna be like, wait, what? Okay, so this is the Canon Cinema R300. Again, name placeholder, not necessarily the camera name. Now, this is going to have the same Super 35 sensor that's in the C300 Mark III right now, including the dual gain output technology that's in the C300 Mark III. So the same dual gain. So if you don't understand what the dual gain output is, it's basically the camera is taking two different exposure modes simultaneously before it even hits the processor. So one is capturing all the highlights, the other one is giving you clear noise, and it gives you like a nice 16 plus stops of dynamic range is what they're saying. If you've seen all the reviews over the C300 Mark III, one of the things that has benefit even over its bigger brother, the C500 Mark II, is the fact that the noise floor is so clean that it actually gives the benefits. So, having this sensor in the technology is pretty impressive, especially when you find out what the price is, but I'm going to hold that off a little bit later. So, also, just like the R200, the R300 is not going to have IBIS, no IBIS at all in this camera. Like I said, it's going to have the RF mount. The same internal 10 stops of NDs is going to be on the R300 as well. It is going to have Canon Log 2 and 3, but unlike the R200, the R300 is going to have 10-bit 422. But here is where it gets very interesting. It's 10-bit 422, but to SD cards, not to CFast cards, not CF Express cards, but to SD cards. And you're going to be able to do 4K up to 120 frames per second. So, since it's the same sensor as the C300 Mark III, it can be, as long as the codecs are, I'm assuming this is going to be H.265. But if the codecs can hold up, it's still an efficient codec. It's just very hard to handle on the computers. But but you're going to be able to do 4K 120. So the same 4K 120 you can do on the Big Brother C300 Mark III, you're going to be able to do it on this camera as well. And you'll be able to do 2K up to 180 frames per second, just like on the C300 Mark III. Now, the thing it's saying is there is no RAW capability internally at launch. Now, I don't know what that... It sounds like that there is going to be RAW added later on. I don't know... Again, I don't know how they're going to do that with SD cards if they're not looking to add RAW. My guess, if I have to take a guess, is the fact that they're probably going to go what Sony did with the A7S Mark III and use the card slots that would be SD cards, but instead they're going to use CF Express Type A's instead of the Type B's that are in the C300 Mark III's. So that's my theory, because that only is and they're probably waiting for more of the technologies of the CF Express Type A's to come about before, I guess, making the upgrade. The other alternative that may be a possibility is that they are doing some sort of... They're taking a RAW codec, either if it's ProRes RAW or maybe Blackmagic RAW. I personally hope it's Blackmagic RAW, not ProRes RAW. I don't know if that's what they're planning to do with that, but it's interesting that it's saying no RAW capability internally at launch. Which means they may be adding it. If they add it internally afterwards in launch, this is going to be a very interesting camera. And that's because of the price. And before I get to the price, I need to say the battery is not the same. It's not taking LPE6 batteries like the R200. It's taking the BPA battery. So the A60 and the A30s that you use on the C300, C500, and C200 lines, you're going to be able to use it with this camera. Now here's the kicker. This is the price. So remember, the C300 Mark III, this is the same sensor as the C300 Mark III. And it has the same DGO technology as the C300 Mark III, which is a $10,000 cinema camera. This camera is looking to come at least what the rumor is, at $6,300. $6,300. Essentially, this is coming at a lower price than what the C200 came at when it first launched, and that was around $7,500. So, if this is all true, this may be a very interesting camera that we may be looking at, because you're going to be getting that super high dynamic range. You're getting the 10-bit 422 Canon Log 2. The RAW is the only thing I'm sort of questioning about. And again, I'm also questioning how they're going to capture all the 10-bit 422 internally. That's just me. But At $6,200, you're getting essentially the C300 Mark III, and my guess is these are going to be smaller bodies. I'm very interested to see what they're coming with. Again, this is all supposed to be announced later this month. So now we got also, let me go back. All right, so we also got some new XF mounts. So now we got the Canon XF505. This is essentially replacing the XF205. It's going to have the same 1-inch sensor as the XF705. It's going to have a 12G SDI output with SD cards, internal zoom up to 15 times. And then there's the XC20, which basically is the replacement for the XC10, XC15. If y'all remember those years ago, it was that 1-inch cinema camera. So it's the same sensor as the XF705. But this camera is actually going to have internal RAW recording. But it's going to record to SD cards for XF AVC. So yeah, so my guess is going to be sort of the same as like the R5, where it's going to have one slot for CF Express, so you can do internal RAW recording, and then you can do the SD cards for MP4, XF AVC codec. And then, but it's not giving anything in terms of the specs. We know there's a 10 times zoom lens with a constant aperture of a 2.8, and it's going to still use the LPE6 batteries. So that's it, but there's no specs on like if it's going to be just 4K or what's it going to be up to. But that R300 is going to be the most interesting one to me. To basically have the C300 Mark III at the price of $6,200, it's real. If this is true, this is something to keep an eye out. Now again, the RAW, if there's no RAW recording in it, this may be a deal breaker for me for that. And also, we got to see what the codec is, because it looks like the XC20 is going to be having XF AVC. So I'm hoping we'll get XF AVC in this R300. If that's the case, this is going to be a very this is going to shake up the industry in terms of the cinema lines for Canon. So I would love to hear what you guys think. Let me know. Leave a comment below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.